Welcome back to Expedition Hemispheres. Whether you're hiking, camping, or just trying to survive in the wild, knowing how to build a safe fire is an essential skill. So today I want to take you through the steps to build an effective but safe fire so you can utilize it for cooking, for warmth, or just to boost your spirits. Whether you're a seasoned outdoor enthusiast or a beginner, cooking food and staying warm usually requires creating a fire. But one thing to remember is with great power comes great responsibility. So we kind of want to dive in first and talk a little bit about campfire safety and what that looks like. Starting a fire can look a bunch of different ways, depending on where you are and what the weather is like. But one thing that doesn't really have a lot of variations is our safety and what we do to prepare a fire. So before you start, you want to make sure you have your tools on hand. You want to make sure that you have a lighting source. So that could look like waterproof matches, it could look like a ferro rod or a lighter. And also have a bucket or a water source nearby so you can easily extinguish anything that might get out of hand. The next thing to keep in mind are these three words: small, safe, and contained. So that means we want to keep an area that is no wider than 12 inches in diameter. Keeping it small keeps it controllable. And you want to use rocks as a ring, as a way to kind of contain your fire, if it's allowed. Some trails don't allow you to gather rocks and place them in a fire ring. In that case, what you want to do is clear all the brush, all the leaves, all the twigs, so you just have dirt surrounding your small fire. And never, ever leave your fire unattended. Also, a good thing to do before you take off on your adventure, whatever that may look like, you're going to want to check with local regulations on when and where you can have fires. If that's really hard to determine because you're getting mixed signals on websites, you might want to check with the park ranger when you get to wherever you are going. It changes all the time in some places, depending on whether they've been having dry weather or wet weather. Some trails intersect private land, and those owners don't want any fires on their private land. So make sure you do your research and find out. If there's a question, the answer is no. The last thing to keep in mind with safety before we get into actually building a fire is the whole idea of everything that we do when we go out into nature, and that is to leave no trace. So before you leave your campsite, make sure that your fire is completely extinguished. So you can do that by pouring water on it and using a stick to stir around, making sure it gets all throughout, and repeating that process until everything is cold to touch. Then you might want to take those ashes and scatter them around and completely make it look like no one was ever there. This is respectful to not only the environment, but to other hikers who are going to be coming through and passing through as well. Leave nature the way that you found it when you come in. Now let's get into the actual process of building a fire. Like I said before, there are so many different ways to build fires. There's the TP method, there's the log cabin method. There's a bunch of different ways that you may have learned throughout your years of building fires on the trail. But I just kind of want to take it through the process of how to build from your kindling all the way to having a nice warm fire that you can use for cooking and warmth. So what I like to do is, as we're getting close to a campsite, I like to start looking on the ground and kind of getting an idea of what's available to us. You know, has it just snowed? Has it just rained? Is it pretty dry? So we're looking for anything that could be some sort of kindling. So small twigs and sticks are great. Pine cones are wonderful. Any sort of like dry pine needles is also a great starter as well. When looking for logs, you want to look for small to medium-sized logs. There's no need to be creating these huge fireplace fires while you're out on the trail. A small fire is enough to cook your food and keep you warm and keep everything around you safe. Let's avoid finding huge logs and stick to the small and medium-sized. You're looking for dead standing wood. You want to avoid anything that's green. And when I say green, it's the ones where the bark won't really peel off. It's really wet inside. You're not going to get those to light. You don't want to be cutting trees down on trails. So anything that's fallen, been laying on the ground, those are great sources to be looking for to fuel your fire. Now let's locate the site for your campfire. You want to find a flat, dry spot that is away from any overhanging branches, dry leaves or grasses, or any flammable materials. Typically, we want to keep this away from our tents anyways, because we'll be cooking food around it, and we want to keep animals away from where we're sleeping. Now we want to build our campfire. You want to clear any vegetation away from the site, and if allowed, build a ring out of nearby rocks. What this is going to do is it's going to protect it from the wind, but it's still going to be able to get a little bit of the air that it needs, that oxygen that's going to help fuel that fire. The stage has been set. We're ready to begin. Now we're going to talk about fire layering. Basically what this is you want to start layering small to large. We'll start at the foundation. We're going to use small twigs and dry leaves. And then we'll use kindling, which is larger wood, sticks, etc., that we will build in a log cabin or a teepee type structure. We're gonna go ahead and get that lit, get that started. And as that starts to go, as that starts to build, as we start creating those embers, we're gonna be adding larger sticks and pieces of wood, growing the size of our fire. I'd love to show you a little bit about what I bring in my fire kit when I go camping or when I go hiking. I like to take this. This is a dryer lint. Just a little tiny piece of this goes a long way. This stuff is really, really effective to take a spark and get it going. And then what I like to do is I like to take one of these little kindling bundles, if you will. It's just strips of wood that is coated in wax to keep it dry. So just a tiny bit of this dryer lint and one of these kindling bundles. It's really hard to fail making a fire from this. So a spark to the dryer lint gets a little flame going, and then that catches onto this, and then you can kind of start adding your fuel with your small sticks, then your medium sticks, and then your dry found wood around your campsite. Sometimes you're gonna find yourself in a snowy situation, or you're gonna find yourself in a wet situation, and don't fret. You can still start a fire in all of these situations. Recently on the Colorado Trail, our very first night at camping, it started snowing, and it had snowed before. There was wet wood all around us. That's okay. If you can get something started, you can dry out the other pieces. Small sticks, medium sticks, and large sticks that I'm propping up on the rock ring, just away from the flame, but close enough to where those can start drying out and start drawing that water out of that wood. So by the time you're ready to add that to your fire, they're dried out enough to get going. Building and starting a safe fire in the wild is a valuable skill that can enhance your outdoor experience. By following these steps and practicing responsible fire management, you can enjoy the benefits of a fire while minimizing its impact on the environment and reducing the risk of wildfires. Thank you for watching, and as always, keep adventuring.